Tonight's episode of America's Hometown Horror is brought to you by our friends at Fangoria Magazine. That's right, the first name in fright since 1979 is now an affiliate of America's Hometown Horror. And because of that, we can now offer you an exclusive 20% discount on any first-time magazine subscription or merchandise purchase by heading over to shop.fangoria.com and using the code HometownHorrorPod at checkout. That's shop.fangoria.com/HometownHorrorPod, or just use the code HometownHorrorPod at checkout for that exclusive discount on anything from Fangoria. Tonight's episode of America's Hometown Horror is also brought to you by our friends at Horror Facts Magazine. Never heard of Horror Facts Magazine? Well, if you're a horror fan, they're a name that you absolutely should know. You can find them over at horrorfacts.com, and they're a great resource for all things horror, including news, reviews, editorials, and lots of other horror podcasts, not only limited to, but including America's Hometown Horror. So head on over to horrorfacts.com and check them out. Last but certainly not least, if you want to support America's Hometown Horror directly, I would highly recommend you get yourself some tickets to the Hometown Haunts and Hops Horror Convention, which will be taking place at Mayflower Brewing Company in lovely Plymouth, Massachusetts for the first time on October 28th of this year. Yes, that's right, folks, the Saturday before Halloween. We're partnering with our friends over at Inebriart to put this event on, and you can buy yourself some tickets by going to inebriart.com, go to their events page, pull up their October calendar, and get yourself some $5 tickets to the Hometown Haunts and Hops Horror Convention, which is now sponsored by HalloweenNewEngland.com. HalloweenNewEngland.com is the website for the truly Halloween-obsessed, with the most extensive guides to New England haunted houses, ghost tours, classic horror film screenings, jack-o'-lantern festivals, haunted hayrides, and more. They've got all the thrills covered throughout September and October. With over 2,500 Halloween events on their events calendar and hundreds of local Halloween attractions, it's the only place you'll find everything from haunted history tours and costume contests to witch haunts are open on a Thursday night. No matter what you're looking for this Halloween season, HalloweenNewEngland.com has you covered, and we are thrilled to be partnering with them. Now, let's get on with the show. Hello, good evening, and welcome into another episode of America's Hometown Horror. Thanks for checking back in with us. My name is Mike. I'll be your host as always. And if you've noticed that we've sounded like liquid gold right now, and over the last couple of weeks, it is exclusively because of our friend Shano over at Skywheel Media with our new music, our new ad read, Who Dis? But basically, if you have a podcast that you're looking to take to the next level in terms of audio production, get in touch with us. We'll put you in touch with our buddy Shano over at Skywheel Media, and you can get yourself also sounding like liquid gold like we are right now. I've never been more proud of how we actually sound audio-wise. And since our buddy Shano has taken over our audio production, again, that's Skywheel Media. And of course, if you want to find us online, you can always find us on the following platforms, including, first and foremost, our website, ahpod.com. That's ahhpod.com. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or X, whatever the fuck it's called right now, Instagram, Threads. Just search for America's Hometown Horror. You'll find us. We'll talk. We'll chat. What's up? You can also email us at hometownhorrorpodcast@gmail.com if you feel like you want to do that and let us know about what you think about the show. Anywho, guys, we are matless tonight, which means that I am joined by the original two OG podcasters on America's Hometown Horror, Kat and Andrew. Lady, gentleman, hello. Good evening. How are you? What's happening? What's new?
Good to be here.
Yeah?
Yeah, oh yeah. Dude, middle of summer.
Good to see you. Good to be seen.
Happy to be alive, so there's that.
Yep.
Yeah,
when you almost killed people.
Especially in your case, you're happy to be alive. Yeah. Absolutely.
We don't need to get into that too much.
Okay.
Happy Wacky Wednesday.
Happy Wacky Wednesday. Well, it won't be Wacky Wednesday when this is released.
No, but it is right now.
And first bit of little news that I have here tonight, and I will lead this off with, there are two things that make me really, 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 really happy in my life. The first of which is seeing my friends that work really hard at what they do and succeed. And the second thing is Spooky World. And when those two things can be combined into one particular topic that I like to discuss, of course, I'm talking about Spooktacular, the movie, from our friends Tony, Quinn, and David, who have been on this show before, amongst other podcasts, talking about their awesome documentary film that is coming out about the history and the evolution of Spooky World in the 90s. I am very happy to share that they finally have a world premiere listed, and it's going to be at Fantastic Fest in Austin, Texas, coming up in about a month, I think. And I just could not be more thrilled for those guys. Kat and I actually had the pleasure of seeing Tony over this past weekend. And I can't say enough good things about how hard they've worked and how excited we are to see them, see this through to the finish line, right?
Yeah, it's a long time coming. I mean, I've seen them work at this movie for so long now that I'm so excited to see it finally be released.
Oh, of course. And I feel like it was not necessarily in its infancy when they came on and talked about it, but it was definitely like well into production. But they were still kind of far off.
They were still putting a lot of pieces together.
Yeah, still trying to figure out exactly what they wanted it to be. And I feel like now they have an idea of what they want it to be, obviously, because they're releasing it, but they know what they want. They're doing it. And I just like it's just so great for them.
It sounds like they're fucking killing it.
Yeah.
But, you guys want to hear about some of the other movies that are being released at this film festival as well?
I would love to.
So Fantastic Fest, back for its 18th edition, which is jam-packed with horror insanity, including world premieres of several prominent titles, including the remake of Troma's cult classic, The Toxic Avenger, the bloody, disgusting produced Shudder original VHS 85, Blumhouse and Amazon's Totally Killer, and Paramount's hotly anticipated Pet Sematary Bloodlines.
So
which will be starring David Duchovny of X-Files fame.
Just to ruin this really quick.
Yes.
Whenever you say titles, I think of Celebrity Jeopardy when Sean Connery says famous titties.
Famous titties, yes.
Instead of famous titles.
Well, in famous titties at the Fantastic Fest, in addition to Spooktacular, you will also get all of those movies. But it's just wild. Like I'm scrolling through an article right now, looking at all of the films that are being released at this particular film festival or having their world premiere at this particular film festival. And I'm looking right here at Spooktacular, which is just crazy.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
It's great. I'm so happy
for them. Yeah.
Spooktacular USA 2023 world premiere, 105 minutes. Director Quinn Monahan. A new documentary tells the warts and all story behind America's first horror theme park, Spooky World.
I mean,
incredible,
amazing.
It's the best.
Even more incredible that we've had them on this podcast more than once, and they're releasing a movie.
Yep.
And who knows? Stay tuned. There may be more on that in the coming weeks.
Perfect timing too. It's right before the fall. It's going to pick up. It's going to be awesome.
I'm
so excited for them.
It sure is. So yeah, again, if you are not following the Spooktacular movie on social media, I would highly recommend that you do so. If you're a monster kid from the 90s and you're from Massachusetts, you obviously clearly know about Spooky World. Follow them everywhere so you know everything about this movie, when it's going to come out, and where you can find it, when you're able to actually watch it outside of a film festival. So yeah, Spooktacular getting its world premiere at Fantastic Fest. Could not be more excited for those guys.
Also, speaking of fall, today was the first official day that pumpkin spice was back introduced to Dunkin' Donuts
Bogus.
in their coffee, and I had one this morning.
Yeah, what's the verdict? Same as usual?
I'm ready for fall, I think. I love the summer. I feel like this summer has sucked in terms of rain and humidity. And I'm ready for the crisp air, and I'm ready for the blue skies. I'm ready for boots, flannels, sweaters.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree.
I'm ready for it. It's been so
I love the fall.
Gross, I feel like, this summer.
I'm tired of sweating.
And you're ready for the pumpkin spice.
I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah.
The most white person I've ever talked to before. Ready for flannel shirts,
North Face
cold
leggings,
pumpkin spice.
Just ready for another basic bitch fall.
Yeah, I'm totally ready.
Absolutely. For it. Well, hey, you like what you like. And a lot of people seem to like A24's latest release, Talk to Me, as it is crossed over the $40 million mark at the box office after an incredible third weekend. Again, this is going up against Barbie and Oppenheimer. Has grossed $40 million. This is a movie that we all still have not seen quite yet. A sequel has been announced. Some are calling it the best horror movie of the year. I'm going to reserve my judgment until I see it. I know nothing about this movie. I have purposely avoided trailers, plot summaries. All I know is that when it does come out and it's available for streaming, I'm definitely going to watch it, but I don't really know anything else about it beyond that, which is how I'm opting to go into most horror movies nowadays, because I don't my expectations falsely set high and then be disappointed. So I know we're kind of all in the same boat there, right?
Yeah, I only watch trailers when I'm at the movies because they're there.
Yeah.
And that's like a thing. Like I want to see the trailers, but I don't really want to see the trailers but the thing about going to the movie theaters, I'm not worried about any of those trailers like being like movies that I'm dying to see.
Things that you're worried about at the movies is, do they have red Slurpees and candy? That's
generally
cherry ice
and
candy.
Yep. Yeah, that's your real worry. If they don't, that's a big problem.
This is a pretty significant deal, by the way, for A24, because their highest grossing horror film of all time is Hereditary, which made $44 million back when it came out. And this movie is now at $40 million. So
that's pretty sick.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll see what happens. Or actually, hold on. Let me see. Slash Film. Talk to Me as the second highest domestic gross for an A24 horror movie, behind the $44 million made by Ari Aster's Hereditary. Worldwide, the 2018 movie ended its run with $82.8 million. So Talk to Me still has a lot of catching up to do. So I guess domestically, it's neck and neck right now with where Hereditary was at this point. So I don't know. Tough to beat Hereditary personally for me. So I guess I'll reserve judgment until we get a chance to watch Talk to Me. Maybe we'll do a whole episode on it. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll talk about it in news and watch list. Who knows? We'll see. But that's what we got on Talk to Me. And then let's see what's next. If my computer will cooperate with me. Guys, a movie that we covered on this podcast and a movie that we all very much enjoyed, I think, or enjoyed to certain degrees. We talked a few weeks ago about Orlando Universal's lineup for Halloween Horror Nights.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out that the Hollywood version of Halloween Horror Nights released their full lineup, and they have a couple of different things, but the biggest significant difference is that they are doing a haunted house based on Evil Dead Rise, which I think is pretty fucking cool. You can really do some good stuff in a haunted house with that movie, where it's being set in a high rise. You can do some good stuff with the elevator, with the hallways, parking garage. You can do some good stuff with that final monster. There's a lot to be had there.
Yeah, that's kind of sick.
Yeah. So I mean the Hollywood version of Halloween Horror Nights.
We should go one year. We should just make. I know. We should make it work. Maybe next year. Maybe we can make that a goal next year.
One of these years we have to do it. But yeah, if you want to go see an Evil Dead Rise haunted house, head over to Universal Studios Hollywood. Starting in like 2 weeks. That's when Halloween Horror Nights kicks off at both parks. It's like mid-August, or actually, it's mid-August right now. End of August when it kicks off.
Okay,
so
that's fair. I mean, they make a ton of money off it because it's amazing.
They should have it open as long as humanly possible because they make so much money every single night that the event's open. Because all the haunted houses are based on huge properties and they're all very well done. They have huge budgets.
So it's crazy
very
the way
stuff.
they set it all up.
Yeah. Nope. Agreed. Anyone else have anything newsworthy before we get into watch list stuff?
Nope.
Okay, cool. Why don't we take a quick little break here to pay some bills before we get into our watch list? We'll be right back. All right, we're back, which means we're talking watch list stuff before we get into this movie that we watched in the theaters, and we're going to review for you guys, which will be spoiler-free up front, followed by full spoilers after the fact, because I know there were a lot of people that messaged us saying, when we were seeing this movie that they were wanting to see it, so I don't want to spoil it for those people that still want to listen to our episode. But anyway, Andrew, anything that you watched over the last couple of weeks or last week, I would say, that's of note before we jump into this shit? I know I think you told me a couple of things.
So I've finally watched Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1978 version.
Can't believe you've never seen this movie before.
I had assumed that I had seen this movie. And another reason this movie got ruined was one of those 100 lists.
Ruined.
A great scene. It's like the final scene in the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm just waiting for that scene the whole time. And I'm like, oh, there it is. Fantastic movie. Donald Sutherland's awesome. It was real weird when he was trying to kiss somebody because there's nothing creepier than Donald Sutherland trying to kiss anybody. He looks like a dog. It's such a weird face.
Like a dog's eyes.
Kind of dogs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Him kissing people makes me very uncomfortable. Other than that, great movie. Loved it. Fantastic.
It's an all-timer. I mean, I'm actually very surprised.
It definitely is in my top 10 movies of all time, like horror movies of all time.
Knowing your affinity for sci-fi horror, I can't believe that you had never actually seen it before, which is amazing to me.
It's wild.
But yeah, it's a really good movie, and the ending obviously is a great ending. One of the great endings of all time.
Well, and it's also funny because the guy that was in The Brood was in that movie too.
Yeah,
which I had just watched like the week before. I was like, it's like a little
Jeff Goldblum, Leonard Nimoy.
Leonard Nimoy is good in that.
Yeah, a lot of people in that. Obviously Donald Sutherland.
Yeah. That chick that's in. Who was she? His girlfriend. She's in like another big '80s movie.
I'll look it up right now. Keep talking. What else you watching?
No,
not Molly Ringwald.
I also watched Knock at the Cabin.
Yes, you did. That's right.
I thought that movie was fucking awesome.
It was awesome, right?
I thought it was great. Dave Bautista was phenomenal.
Dave Bautista is a snoozed on, very good actor.
Because I've never watched any of the Guardians of the Galaxy's movies.
I haven't either.
He's in that, so I don't really know what he's been in.
I don't really either.
I thought he was good.
You're a bit like.
Well, dude, that was what I was thinking the whole time when I was watching the couple that had the adopted child.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is that guy? And I was like, oh, it's Holden Ford. I was like, that's who it is.
From Mindhunter.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, oh, I knew his face. I'm like, why do I know this guy?
Oh, that movie's awesome. It's
very
really
good movie.
good.
Yeah, I thought it
Like,
was
it's
very
sneaky good.
It was up there with like Signs as far as like
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan type movies go. Like not as good as Signs, obviously.
Wait,
'cause
that was an M. Night Shyamalan?
yes.
Oh yeah, we just talked
We
about
just
that.
we just talked about that last week.
I was gonna say, I was like, wait, I drafted him, and I said that.
That's correct.
Yes.
You did.
As I was saying, I was like, wait, that's
You did,
Yep, yes,
and
it
that's
is.
correct. All right, so Donald Sutherland's love interest in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, by the way, her name is Brooke Adams. She is known for Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Dead Zone.
That's the one.
That's
I
another
was
one.
thinking
And
of.
then let's see what else here.
That's literally the movie I was thinking.
Days of Heaven, The Unborn. Doesn't really seem like too much else other than that. So correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure
It
other
was
people will. Let us know.
definitely the Dead Zone that I recognize it from. Yeah, I enjoyed both those. I also am fully caught up again with
What We Do in the
What We
Shadows.
Do in the Shadows.
Oh, we are not
and
yet.
every episode gets
Better and better.
they just keep getting better and better. Season rocks.
I love that show.
The-
I mean,
the
it's
show-
hard
the
to
show
not have a
rocks.
good
Nando
episode.
de
I mean,
Laurentiis.
Nando the Relentless.
Yes.
Nando de Laurentiis.
Gizmo.
Did you watch that one yet?
No, not
Oh, you
yet.
have
No,
not.
no. I just
So
remember
good.
you telling me about it. So
Dude, it's so good. Like
We
they
can watch
basically
it.
go on
We'll
the
watch
news.
it after
They go on the
podcast.
news at the
How
end
about
of it because
yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't want to give it away, but it's
No,
not really. It's
we'll-
not really giving it away.
No,
Like,
it's-
you can tell
yeah.
parts of the show.
I will still laugh at it.
Yeah,
personally,
because
so.
like the whole town thinks that like that they know that they're vampires, but it's just them. It's Nandor just freaking out on camera and giving away too much information. The news people are like, "This guy's fucking crazy."
Out of his
There's like
mind,
this, and they think that everyone knows they're vampires, and now it's
Whichever episode it was that Laszlo was getting on Nandor for doing too much hypnotizing.
that one was so good.
Oh,
I
that was
fucking
really good.
lost it when him and Guillermo were at the basketball game and he tripped
Guillermo.
and he fell down the stairs, and then he immediately was on the jumbotron and he just did the hypnotizing to everybody in the entire audience. I fucking
I did
died.
not fall down
I
these
did
stairs.
not fall down these stairs. You will forget all of this.
He's like in the middle of the
I
court.
died.
So
Yeah,
good.
I so awesome,
He's
so great.
good.
Yeah, I love that show. Yep, absolutely. So good stuff, Andrew. So that would be again Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Knock at the Cabin, and What We Do in the Shadows. Some new stuff, some old stuff.
Yeah, a little
Nice
bit of
work.
work.
Nice work, Andrew. Catherine, anything to report?
On my watch list, it's Jersey Shore Family Vacation.
Okay,
it's,
not horror.
It's pretty horrifying.
No,
to be honest.
no, we're not doing that. Sorry, I'm putting my foot down. No.
Beyond that,
No.
I don't think I watched anything else.
You just watched Jersey Shore for the last week.
Yeah,
Sounds like a horror film to me. So
Yeah.
it's just mindless.
Good
yeah,
Lord.
I mean, I don't really watch anything else. No.
Jersey Shore Family Vacation is the
Yeah,
show
oh,
that
it's
you forced
great.
me to watch.
It's horrifying.
You're better off watching the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where they go to the Jersey Shore. It's better than everything that Jersey Shore is ever.
And Dee gets her braid ripped out of her hair
Yes,
on the
absolutely
slingshot.
hilarious. Yep. So good, so good. I don't really have a
Disgusting.
lot, but the one thing that I did rewatch that I forgot about.
Wait. I forgot. I listened to a lot of Radio Rental.
Talk about Radio Rental. Go ahead. Yes, good call. Good
I was
call.
like, wait. I did. And this is different for me. I listened to a podcast, which I am not a big podcast person at all. I think I'm on episode like 14 now, maybe. I just gradually listen to them whenever. I mean, sometimes I tune out and then I'm like not listening. And that's why it's so hard for me to listen to podcasts because I'll like be doing something else and then I'll still have it on. I'm like, I didn't listen to anything that they just said. That's why it's so hard for me to like listen to podcasts. I have to like be focusing on them. So it's like mostly like in the car. I mean, sometimes I'll put it on at work, but then also I'm like doing other things. And I want to be able to concentrate on it. And I can't always do that. So
Understood.
anyways.
What do you think of Radio Rental, though?
I think it's scary. There's definitely some hit or miss episodes. Some episodes are really, really creepy. Some episodes are based on like real things.
Oh, yeah.
Which are very, I mean,
So,
I guess it's supposed to all be real.
I'm assuming
things.
probably in the first 14 episodes that you've listened to, you have some standout stories. Like what are some of the ones that scared you the most, the ones that stuck with you the most?
To be honest.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh,
I mean,
my God.
I will actually, I mean, there's definitely the first few were pretty scary. It's more of the ones that I think are kind of dumb that stick with me. I don't know. Maybe that's just why I remember them because I'm like, oh, that's so stupid. But there was actually one that stood out to me that was scary because it reminded me, it was the one about the man who almost got like, he was in a situation in Boston.
We talked about this one. Yeah.
That's one of the best ones.
Yeah.
One of the best.
Yeah. That one was very, very scary. Yeah.
Did you only remember that one because we had talked about it previously, or did you remember it because the story was actually creepy?
No, I remember
which it very much
that was.
was.
Very creepy.
Because like there was another one about some girls on like ice or something, and some guy.
That one was stupid. That one I remember.
Like, I mean, there's a few that are like, and then it's like, oh, this girl came up to me and like she was in my house, and like then she like went in a cab, and then all of a sudden my girlfriend like came the other side and like.
Oh, I loved that one. That was the doppelganger one. That was awesome. That was really good. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago.
I don't know.
Yeah, that one was really good.
I just
It just like I like.
There's certain ones that grab me. Like I can't remember all of them. I mean, that's like 28.
I'd say you can't remember any of them.
Exactly. No, but
yeah.
I know them in the moment that I'm like, oh yeah, that was a good one. But I mean, it was that one that I listened to a while back. One of the first ones I think Matt talked about, the guy that was outside of the house, and then she found out later that he was like a serial killer.
Yes,
that one was
there's a few stories like that with serial.
That was a really
killers.
one. I was like, Jesus Christ! And like, that was him. That was on the street.
Yeah. Like, yep.
I looked that guy up and I was like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, and actually,
like,
there was one recently where it was the mom and the daughter in the grocery store, and then someone else, or they were in Costco or something.
Yeah, and somebody else grabbed her in the cart. Yeah,
and then started like wheeling her around, and she's like, "You're not my mom." And then she just screamed like, "Mom!" Like that's so like I'm like, "Oh my god!" And you don't even know. I mean, now she's processing it as an adult, and it's like there could have been a million things that could have happened to me as a child.
Yeah,
like that. She remembers that, which is crazy.
Yeah. That show is it's awesome.
It's
very, very good.
Really good show.
I mean, I don't know how many weeks in a row we can talk about this show and not recommend it any higher to people than we already do, because I feel like we talk about it every week. It's almost like we're being paid promoters,
but we're not.
I swear to God, we're not. It's honestly, I think it's my favorite podcast. And right now, I've listened to every episode. It's on hiatus because they do seasons. And I hope the new season's good whenever it does come out. Sure I would assume it's probably going to start releasing again around Halloween. So we'll see what happens.
So Michael, sorry to interrupt. What is your watch list?
That's okay. All I was going to say was that I did recently, since William Friedkin had passed away last week, we talked about it. I wanted to revisit The Exorcist, which obviously The Exorcist is a movie that I've seen probably 20, 25 times in my life. I watch it all the time. It's a great movie. And I rewatched it, just because William Friedkin passed away.
For sharts and gargles.
For sharts and gargles, as our buddy Matt would say, who's not here, who is hopefully ripping it up down in Virginia at a gigantic mansion that he's at with his in-laws. Hopefully he hasn't killed anybody yet. He's having
like 8,000 children there.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, I bet he's having a blast.
I bet he's having a blast, and I do hope that he got away for golf one morning at least. I'm sure he probably did, and I'm sure we'll see him when he gets back. So, I do wish that he had seen this movie with us, because I would have loved to have heard his opinion about it. But anyway, so The Exorcist, I rewatched it. It's still as good as ever. It's still as effective as ever. It's still very creepy, and like it's not going to ever be the movie now in present day where people were fainting in the aisles, because I feel like it's came out in 1973. It's 2023. The movie is 50 years old. At this point, right? That's what 30 would be 2003 plus 20. Yeah, 50 years old, which is incredible how effective the movie still is 50 years later. Yeah. It's unbelievable. So great. So, I mean, go back and listen to our Exorcist episode. That was one of the first episodes that we ever had Matt on as a guest star. I think the first, actually.
That was,
which was a very fun. I actually went back and listened to that after I watched the movie. So, yeah, good stuff. The Exorcist, always going to be a classic, always will be. You guys got anything else?
Nope.
No.
Cool. All right, we're going to come back and talk about a 2023 movie, one that is this year old, not 50 years old. Why don't we take a quick 90-second break for a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
It's official. The critics' decision is in.
Spooky World is spectacular.
Enter the new black hole.
If you dare.
Or the new horror House of Wax. This year, don't miss the real Jason, Bobby Pickett, or Alice Cooper. Phone the 24-hour Spooky World hotline. 508-838-0200. That's 508-838-0200. Spooky World is just west of Boston and haunts every night from October 1st till November 1st. If you had the nerve, you'd phone 508-838-0200.
It's America's horror theme park, Spooky World.
Don't be scared. I'm the super sweet monster with the super sweet new cereal, Count Chocula.
Biffle, here's the super sweet new cereal, Frankenberry.
But I've got chocolate sweeties for monstrous chocolate flavor.
Well, I've got berry-flavored sweeties for monstrous strawberry flavor.
Count Chocula.
Frankenberry.
Hi.
Ah! Frankenberry.
Count Chocula.
Sleepy clovers!
The new face of evil is going to scare you to death. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. It's killer this year. Then be next door to the Abington Ale House. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. Eat, drink, and be scary. Go to bhmansion.com.
And we're back, which of course means that we are not talking about our topic du jour, our movie du jour, which is another 2023 release. We have not covered a current movie in quite a while. I think the last one that we did was Evil Dead Rise, which is a couple of months ago. And we are talking about The Last Voyage of the Demeter, or should I say Boats and Bats, Titandrak,
What?
Drac Rising,
Oh my God.
Drakcom, What We Do on a Boat, Carnival Cruise
That's
meets
the best one.
Nosferatu.
What We Do on a Boat is the best one.
I'll see myself out, folks. But anyway, yeah, we are talking about The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which is a movie that has been a long time coming. And we're going to go spoiler free to start off because there are a lot of people that are interested in this movie that probably have not seen it yet, as indicated by the box office dollars that have been leaked out over the first weekend of its release. But all right, so Last Voyage of the Demeter. I'll kick us off here. I mean, I think I am probably the easiest lay in the entire world for this movie.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Bunch of great character actors. Check. Solitary setting that they can't escape. Check. A classic universal monster. Check. Great monster design. Check. Based on a classic book. Check, 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 and check. So I am all about this type of movie. I've been waiting for this one for quite a while. It was covered heavily in the latest issue of Fangoria, which is really cool. And I think just, finally seeing it last night, I feel like it reminded me a lot of some of the old school, Kat, you probably don't know, you probably haven't seen a lot of these, but Andrew, you probably have. It reminded me a lot of like the old school, like Hammer horror films.
Yeah.
Like the old school Dracula Hammer horror films with Christopher Lee to a certain
Christopher Lee
extent.
might be best Dracula.
Yeah, he very well could be.
But for later.
Probably a
discussion.
different topic, a different debate for a different episode, I should say. But this movie, now, I'm not saying that this movie is even remotely on the same level as any of these other movies, but I think it's reminiscent of some of my favorite type of movies, which I think is why I like it so much, like Alien or The Thing or even Predator, where you have basically a bunch of working class average Joes just trying to make a paycheck that get thrown into this wild situation. And that wild situation is that they happen to be the crew on the boat that's transferring Dracula from Transylvania to London. And they can't remove themselves from that situation, obviously, because they're in the middle of the ocean. To me, those are interesting types of stories that I really like. I think not only like the monsters in those movies like Alien and Predator and The Thing make those movies very interesting, but also the character dynamics and the way everything is set up makes those movies interesting. And I think that this movie, Last Voyage of the Demeter, has some threads from that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not the same quality. I'm not even debating that. I think the setting of this movie absolutely contributes to the creepiness. And while I don't think it's an outright scary or even terrifying movie, there are some scary parts. Specifically, I'm thinking about the parts where the crew members were like using the knocking on the boat to signal each other. And there was that one scene where the two crew members both realized that someone else was knocking on the side of the boat to
I like
basically try and get everyone out. That was very, very creepy. So there's some creepy stuff going on here. Also in this movie's favor, I think that there's some very good practical effects at times, some great sets, some very good cinematography, good, dare I say, almost great, almost operatic score with the music.
Operatic.
Because this movie takes itself very seriously and the music tells you that.
Yes.
And there are some great performances from, again, some very good character actors here. Specifically, I'm talking about Liam Cunningham, who plays Davos Seaworth in Game of Thrones. He's probably the most recognizable actor to people. David Dasmal Kane, who you've seen in a ton of stuff, whether it's Prisoners or The Dark Knight or a bunch of other movies. He most recently hosted the last year's Fangoria Chainsaw Awards on Shudder. So he's been in a bunch of stuff. And then Corey Hawkins, who was the main character, Dr. What's his name? I forget his name.
Dr. Fuck?
No, not Dr. Fuck. He was the doctor, the main character. He was in The Walking Dead for a couple of seasons.
As
I forget what character he was in Walking Dead,
Well,
but
that
he was
doesn't
in it.
there's a lot of people in Walking Dead.
And John Briones, who's another character actor that people might recognize. He was in a couple seasons of American Horror Story. He was in the the Nurse Ratched show on Netflix. This is the guy that was the overly religious cook that took the like not the sail, like the side boat, the rescue boat, what do you call it?
Lifeboat.
The lifeboat.
Gabriel? No, that's Walking Dead.
No, he took the lifeboat out by himself, and he was reading from the Bible and got killed.
Wait, in which one?
In which one? What?
The movie that we just watched.
In the movie that we just watched.
Oh, never mind. Yes.
But he's also been in American Horror Story, Ratched. Yes, you know exactly the guy I'm talking about.
Yes.
So yeah, I really enjoy this movie. Now, I will acknowledge that working against it, it's absolutely about 15 or 20 minutes too long. There's no debating that at all. And even though that it's rated R, I feel like watching the movie R, I didn't think that there was very much in the movie to warrant an R rating, even though it was rated R. I actually thought it was PG-13. I thought it was PG-13, and I googled it after the fact and found it was in fact rated R. But I thought the entire time the movie was rated PG-13, and I was surprised.
A dog and a child die. I think she's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
100%.
Well, spoilers there.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't feel like any of the violence or the gore really, brought on an R rating, but there is some dark subject matter in there for sure.
Just because it didn't say fuck a million times doesn't
there was
mean
one fuck.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a million other reasons. Yes. Okay.
One fuck.
Maybe they did that in hopes that we get a PG-13.
Story maybe also a bit predictable, because if you're at all familiar with the story of Dracula, you know what happens to this derelict ship. Like, you know what happens. And the movie doesn't really hide that. The beginning of the movie is basically this ship crashing onto the shores of England, and these British constables going up onto the ship to try and see what's going on. And the entire movie pretty much takes place through flashbacks. Mm-hmm. So that, I feel like, is also something that, like, if you're familiar with the story, if you're familiar with Bram Stoker's Dracula, you kind of know what's going to happen here. So you know what's going to happen to all these characters, but also, rest in peace to the very good boy known as Huck and all those lovely barnyard animals that
I will also say another advantage for
an unstable demise.
And also the kid.
Mm-hmm.
They know even if you haven't read the book, very early on in the movie, they do a forward to what happens at the end.
Prologue.
So you know everybody's dead anyway.
That was one of the things I felt like it didn't need. Like it said, like in the text on screen at the beginning of the movies, this is taken from one of the chapters of Dracula. It's like, okay, you didn't really need that.
No, but even beyond that, the first scene
everyone knows that.
No, but Andrew's saying the first scene is that they say that everyone's dead.
And they show the
survivor.
No. I know that, but I feel like they were kind of vague there because they're.
It's not vague. I mean, there's no survivors. And you're like, okay, well, I just watched the whole movie. Then.
Well, no survivors on the ship. That's what I'll say.
Yes.
I'll leave it at that. So anyway, I was a big fan of this movie. I really liked it. But again, I'm a sucker for this type of movie. It's right up my alley. So I can understand how some people might have not felt the same way. Who would like to go next?
I'll go.
Sure.
I'll go. Since I have a contrasting opinion greatly. I thought this movie was weak, I'll say. I love movies that are based in the sea. I love like Perfect Storm. Those. I love those like Titanic. I mean, there's a million. Jaws, even, sure, whatever. Like, I mean, I like ocean-y movies. It's cool. It had me at first. I thought it was awesome. Liked the whole premise, whatever. And then it gradually went downhill. And it kept going downhill. The characters were great, very lovable. Loved the stories. That's cool. Overall, it wasn't scary. There were no boo scares, really. I may have jumped once, but I think if anything, I looked at you and I like nudged you to try and scare you.
You tried to scare me at one point.
Like,
you did.
It's not creepy. I'll never have nightmares about it. It's kind of, I don't know, basic in a weird way. I mean, it just didn't grab me. It didn't grab me. I don't know what I really expected, but I guess I maybe expected there to be more, I don't know, more like Dracula monster. I guess I maybe expected more of Dracula, but also like, I didn't find he wasn't scary. Like they showed too much of him all the time. Like I feel like they'd show him in a corner, but they'd show like his entire figure. I don't know. Like it just didn't.
Reminder: we're keeping it spoiler free for this particular point. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong though. I feel differently. I feel like they did try to hide him for a good amount of the first act of the movie.
Yes, he was creepy crawling in the shadows for a while. And then I'm wondering, like, I wasn't totally sure at certain points. Wait, are we still spoiler free?
Yes, I just said it 3 seconds ago, so yes.
Certain points were kind of vague, and I kind of wish I had more information on that, but it's probably in the book, and probably I should know that going into watching the movie.
No, I'm not saying that. So, like, what else are you able to say about the movie without spoiling the ending?
I just think that it didn't live up to my expectations. When you told me,
what expectations did you have?
I thought it was going to be scarier, to be honest. I didn't think it was that scary.
It wasn't.
No, it was not scary.
It was just kind of like...
It was still a very good movie, though, I thought.
It was...
Yeah, Andrew, your thoughts?
Yeah.
It was like a B- in my book.
Okay.
Not bad.
So you guys are both lower than me on this movie.
Yeah, well, I thought it was good. It looked like it had so much more potential. And especially with a budget that big,
45 million, yeah.
Where did you spend your money?
On details of the ship? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
The physical sets of the ship, the cinematography.
Yeah, I mean, it was beautifully done.
Yeah.
But I feel like the story could have been done just as well with like a $10 million budget. You don't need, I don't really care.
I'm not going to disagree with you there.
If it had a story, it probably would have been.
It was.
Let me put it this way: did it feel like a movie that had a $45 million budget or not?
No,
I didn't think so either. Nope. I felt like the budget could have been. I thought it was much smaller than that. When I read it was 45 million.
They did a good job with the visuals.
Yeah,
that's a flop right there.
But they should never have spent that much money on that movie. What a weird movie! I think it's a success with the amount of money that it made, because if you look at the context, it's a fantastic story. I think it's one of the most unique ideas, and I think more people should make movies based off of just very small parts of books or whatever.
I love the idea.
Elaborate upon that. It's a fantastic idea. Yeah. I feel like you spent a lot of money for no reason because it didn't convey or make the story any better. I thought it was very good. I liked the monster. I wanted more of the monster, the Dracula, the fucking creep.
See, I'm surprised you say that because I feel like we got a lot of Dracula.
It was all not enough though. It was barely you don't even see the kill. You don't really see what happens. It's I feel like
that ties into I feel like it didn't even necessarily warrant the R rating. Maybe aside from a scene or two.
Like an R
it didn't really seem like the violence was like that crazy.
So the tables are turning, gentlemen.
No, I felt the same way. I like it as a movie.
No, I really liked it still. I just didn't think
it was.
I acknowledge that it has flaws.
It wasn't the best movie I've ever seen. I think it could have been better. It's a fantastic. The concept is what I love. I love the idea because. Not that I read anything, but yeah, it's one chapter from the Book of Dracula, which is phenomenal. And they just turn that into a movie. And that's fantastic. If you're going to, I'd rather that than just doing the same movie over and over again.
So So I'm glad you brought that up. So this is obviously based on what people have been saying is a chapter of Bram Stoker's Dracula. And I hold in my right hand here a copy of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which I own. And I made a point to go back and look at this. And this whole story, so the entire...
Did you highlight it?
No, I didn't highlight it. But the entire book of Dracula is told essentially through Jonathan Harker's journals and a bunch of other secondhand accounts of the story, right? And in the middle of chapter 7 is this point. It kicks off probably like two or three pages, maybe into chapter 7. And it basically just says log of the Demeter. Varna to Whitby. And basically it says written 18 July, written 11 July, written 12 July. And then it's basically like 2 or 3 sentences for each date.
See, I'd love that. I'd love to read that.
Basically describing what happens on each night. And this movie is basically filling in the gaps, expanding upon the story and taking liberties with, and I actually think it's one of the coolest parts about this movie is that it's taking like almost a short story within a story about one of the coolest movie monsters of all time and expanding upon it. But like, if you read it, there's really not a lot here. It's basically 4 pages.
If I knew that going into this movie, I feel like someone going in blind to this movie, knowing it's a Dracula movie and it's the last voyage and Dracula's on the ship, don't really know too much about everything that you just said.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have a whole different perspective and I'm going to take a whole other thing away from that movie than if I had known that to begin with. So maybe they should have said some of that.
Well, they did say based off of chapter.
I mean,
Dracula,
yes, but I mean, basic. I don't know.
Say that whole thing.
But I think that that's interesting. Like I would actually want to go and read that because I would want to read like the actual log. I know that he was logging during the movie and that's about what the movie's about, but I think that I want to go back and actually read it and see like in comparison how that was related to the movie. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
now that I know what the movie is, now I want to go back and read and see.
I mean,
How many pages?
both of you guys could read this.
It's 4 pages.
It starts on
Four?
page. It
That's
starts
it?
on page 91 and it ends on page 95.
It's 4 pages turned into a 2-hour movie.
Correct.
That's pretty good.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Log of the Demeter. Written 18 July. Things so strange happening that I shall keep accurate note henceforth till we land.
Okay, you don't need to read.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah,
it's just
don't.
like that. That's
I
pretty
like
much
the reading.
it.
We could do a reading of the Demeter. It's only 4 pages.
Sounds unnecessary.
Okay.
But some of the quotes that he does hit in the movie, like are in here
I'd like it.
for sure,
Good night.
for sure.
And reading the Demeter.
Let's see if we are now off in the North Sea, and only God can guide us in the fog, which seems to move with us, and God seems to have deserted us.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, this is basically all of his
Suck.
Deep.
Liam Cunningham's Davos's
all in
voiceovers in
there.
this movie. It's all in there. That's pretty much the only part that is like from the book, and feel free to read it if you guys want, or if anybody
4
wants to.
pages? I think I could handle it. Actually.
Yeah. Before we move into spoiler territory and talk about some other stuff, guys, better Dracula movie this year: Renfield or Last Voyage of the Demeter?
Ooh,
I haven't seen
Renfield.
Oh, you haven't seen Renfield yet.
Renfield, 100%. 110%.
I say this was better.
You have to see
They're
Renfield.
two vastly different movies.
Yeah.
They're both about the character of Dracula. Renfield is very, very good, and this is just more of my type of movie. So I'm going to say this movie.
I
Renfield.
feel like this movie could have just gotten a lot darker than it did for an
Yeah.
R rating.
Yeah,
It was
Could've,
very
yes.
basic. It was very like tropey, a lot of tropes.
Yeah. It could have had a lot more of a lot.
Hmm.
Yeah.
a lot more of a lot. There you go.
I mean, it could have.
All right, guys, let's talk some 2023 horror movies in relation to this film. Okay, is The Last Voyage of the Demeter better or worse than Evil Dead Rise?
Worse.
Kat?
Did I see that movie?
Yes, you did.
Gonna go with Evil Dead Rise.
Okay, I also think Evil Dead Rise is better. Andrew, Kat, Outwaters or Last Voyage of the Demeter?
Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Yeah.
I agree there as well.
Sorry.
Matt, I think Matt's the only one that saw this. Unwelcome. Did either of you guys see Unwelcome on Shudder?
I
No.
don't think so, no.
I think Last Voyage of the Demeter is just slightly better than Unwelcome. I really like that movie that we already talked about. Renfield. Guys, Cocaine Bear or Last Voyage of the Demeter?
Why is this under horror
That's
movie?
tough. I got to go with Cocaine Bear.
Wow.
I thought
I'm
that movie
surprised.
was
Yeah, I think
fucking-
I'd go with
the movie was
Cocaine Bear
great.
too.
The movie was so ridiculous.
So good. It's a great movie.
So ridiculous. Loved it.
Okay. Guys, Knock at the Cabin or Last
Not
Voyage
Your
of the Demeter?
Cabin. Absolutely. I'd
Andrew?
watch that again. I would never watch this movie again.
Knock at the Cabin.
I'm Last Voyage of the Demeter all day. Guys, Malum or Last Voyage of the Demeter?
Malum?
Last Voyage.
What was that movie?
Last Voyage. That was a movie that we
I
covered
like
on the
the original
podcast
one
about a month
better.
and a half ago.
I think they did better with the small budget on that.
Was the female police officer in the abandoned prison with the demonic stuff happening? You definitely were on that podcast.
Oh, I think I like that better.
Okay, fair enough. Kat, you didn't see this yet. Andrew, 65 or Last Voyage of the Demeter?
That's tough because I do like 65.
Are you
but
signaling to him to pick Last Voyage of the
He is,
Demeter?
but it's
You're-
close
you're-
because I do
I am
like
not.
65.
No, I'm not.
Last Voyage of the Demeter is a better movie.
Yeah, great. Scream 6 or Last Voyage of the Demeter?
Don't even need to
Scream
see
6.
Scream 6 because that movie sucks.
Yeah,
so
great.
Last
Again,
Voyage.
Last
of the Demeter.
Voyage, yep. Boston Strangler or Last Voyage?
Ooh, Boston Strangler.
No, Last
Absolutely.
Voyage, 1,000%.
Boston Strangler.
Andrew's
Last
giving this
Voyage
some
was
serious
okay,
thought.
but Last Voyage.
Wow, say you are lower on this movie than I thought you would be. I'm
I thought
actually
it was pretty good.
surprised.
I thought it was
If
like,
you had to pick one,
overblown. Like they didn't do enough.
Okay, fair
Okay,
enough.
so-
Fine.
if you had to pick one to watch again, you'd pick Last.
I thought it was weak as fuck. Like, yeah, it is. That movie was weak. Like, there wasn't enough violence. R-rated movie, let's rip. Like, I want to see throats ripped in different ways.
Yeah.
Okay,
Fucking
all right,
faces
fair enough.
slurped off someone's body.
Guys, Megan or Last Voyage of the Demeter?
Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Absolutely.
Fucking not even
Fair enough.
close.
Skinamarink or Last Voyage
Last
of the
Last
Demeter?
Voyage of the
Demeter.
Demeter.
Nice
I would
close.
never watch Skinamarink again.
Winnie the
Worse.
Pooh, Blood and Honey or Last
Ooh.
Voyage of the Demeter?
Winnie the Pooh. I'm absolutely
Yeah,
on Winnie the Pooh.
get out of here.
Oh no,
Come
I would
on.
love to see that again. To be honest, it's such a weird.
I think it's on
movie.
Amazon Prime now.
It's,
Is it?
I think so, yeah.
It's actually, yeah. It's
It's such a weird
Winnie the
movie.
Pooh,
Yeah,
Winnie the
it's-
Pooh. Oh,
it's
Winnie the Pooh.
so weird.
I love that
It's
movie.
such
So
a
stupid.
weird
It's
movie.
so bad, but it's so.
It's so bad, but yeah, it's awesome.
So we haven't looked this in a while. This will be the last thing we do before we go into spoilers and the rest of the stuff here. So I wanted to look at the 2023 horror box office, just so you guys know. Again, another huge year for horror, but not the types of movies that we like to see, or for our personal taste, aside from Cat, that we like to see at the top of the box office. First one, Scream 6, $108 million gross so far, followed by Megan, 95 mil. Insidious, The Red Door, 81 mil. Evil Dead Rise, 67 million. The Boogeyman, which I still have yet to see and I really do want to see, 43 mil. Talk to Me, the A24 movie. This is actually outdated because I know it said, we were talking about before, that it's over 40 million. This has it at 31. The Pope's Exorcist, the Russell Crowe movie, 20 mil. The Blackening, 17.7 mil. Last Voyage of the Demeter, 7.9 mil, which now it's up over 8. Beau is Afraid, 7.5. Infinity Pool, 5. Fear, I don't know what that is. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, 2.068.
Oh.
Followed by Skinamarink, The Devil Conspiracy, Consecration, Terrifier, Children of the Corn, Malum, and Enos.
Terrifier? Is that far down?
Terrifier was re-released in theaters this summer for a couple of weeks.
This is the first one.
Okay,
Yeah, 2023. So, but it's made a good amount of money this year. So
Infinity Pool might be the best movie out of that bunch, though.
I know you. This actually has
And that's
Infinity has this website has Infinity Pool rated as an NC-17 movie.
Movie's fucking weird.
Yeah,
it's fucking wild. You got to check that movie out.
Yeah, so I would say parting thoughts. If you have not seen Last Voyage of the Demeter yet and you're still with us, absolutely check it out. Whether it's in theaters or wherever it's streaming, it's absolutely worth a watch. I loved it. If you like monster movies like I do, I'm sure you'll probably love it. If you are in line with Kat's taste, maybe not. If you're in line with Andrew's tastes, maybe not as well. I mean, guys, what do you think?
Are we doing spoilers now?
Parting thoughts before we go into spoilers. We're going to go into spoilers after this.
Parting thoughts. Let's go into spoilers.
Okay, cool. So I loved it. These two, not
6
so much.
out of 10.
Yeah, 6 out of 10. I think it's probably an 8 or 9 out of 10 for me.
My rating's at meh.
Yeah, meh. Okay.
It's not even thumbs. It's just meh.
Okay. All right. Before we get into trivia and some other stuff about this movie, why don't we pay some more bills? We'll be right back. And we're back. All right, guys. So now we're into spoiler territory. Obviously, excuse me if I can only talk, for The Last Voyage of the Demeter. This movie, by the way, directed by a guy named Andre Overdahl, who he has good horror pedigree, directed Troll Hunter, which is a movie that I love. Also directed The Autopsy of Jane Doe and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Ooh, okay,
So he did all those movies, and I feel like this is like another notch in his belt. I mean, I know you guys don't necessarily feel the same way. Screenplay was by two guys named Baraji Shoot Jr. I'm going to try and do my best to pronounce these the right way. And Zach Olkowitz. So far only grossed $8.3 million at the box office against a budget of $45 million, which, again, is a shame because I feel like Universal for a long time has really been trying to do something cinematic and wide and expansive with their slate of classic monsters. Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, The Mummy, Creature from the Black Lagoon. And I feel like they just can't
Is it their market,
get it going. I don't really know, because I feel like this is the type of movie that I, as a horror fan, want to see. But they most recently failed with 2017's Tom Cruise Mummy movie. That movie sucked. They were going to do the Dark Universe, which we talked about a couple episodes ago. But The Invisible Man, right? So Lee Winnell's Invisible Man movie that came out a couple years ago, that was made on a $7 million budget, grossed $144 million. This movie, bigger budget, I still thought it was really cool, has only made just over $8 million.
Yeah.
Kind of wild.
It's weird. Maybe they're spending too much money on that type of movie, though.
Yeah.
Like, what's its max out at?
I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know what, I mean, it's obviously
not a Marvel movie, so no one gives a fuck.
I am the audience for these movies, which is, it's disheartening for me personally when these movies flop, right? So Renfield, also, budget was $65 million.
Jesus.
Made $26.7 million. All these movies
Maybe people
are
done with vampires.
Done with Dracula, done with I mean, I don't really know. I thought for some reason this movie was going to be way more successful commercially than it actually was. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to be a huge hit with horror fans in general.
It's probably still a movie.
I'd say so. But again, I would also say to you and to anybody else, tough summer. Very tough summer with Barbie, Oppenheimer, Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, all fucking killing it. Mission Impossible, like it's oh god. I mean, with that being said, so I did actually read something that I think you will find interesting, Andrew. So Nolan, obviously, when he released Oppenheimer, it's a Warner Brothers picture. And one of his stipulations for Oppenheimer was that there was going to be no other Universal movies released at least until 3 weeks after Oppenheimer. And wouldn't you know it, this is the first Universal movie released after Oppenheimer. So we're almost a month out from the release of Oppenheimer. Here's Universal's first release. And
they fucked it up.
That's still not doing very well.
Well, that's like, what are you going to follow up Oppenheimer? I mean, this movie, don't get me wrong. It's not this movie.
Oppenheimer isn't fucking, it isn't Citizen Kane. Like, let's get real here. I mean, I still haven't seen it. Still haven't seen it.
Yeah, you don't get to say that.
I do want to say it. I do want to see it. Excuse me, Andrew. Is it the greatest movie you've ever seen?
The greatest movie you've ever seen?
Okay, what's better, The Godfather or Oppenheimer?
Fuck The Godfather.
Goodfellas or Oppenheimer?
That's not even the same type of
Right,
movie.
exactly.
Interstellar or Oppenheimer?
No,
not the same type of movie.
Okay, so they're obviously all not going to be the same type of movie. Like, is it the greatest movie ever made, or is it not the greatest movie ever made?
No one said it was the greatest movie ever made.
That's what everyone's making it out to be. All right, anyway.
That's what everyone's making Barbie out to be, too.
I just want to have a watch party and make Oppenheimer drinks.
We can certainly do that. Yes.
Yeah, that's all I want to do.
Obviously, we talked about this a little bit, but this the story of The Last Voyage of Demeter is based on that little excerpt from Chapter 7 of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is called Captain's Log. And this movie has been in development hell for almost 30 years.
30 years.
30 years. So the guy who I mentioned before,
this movie even worse.
Rajai Shoot Jr.
30 years for this.
So basically, he started writing the screenplay for this movie in 1992. He was working at a model shop in Hollywood, and one of his friends was a colleague who worked on Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. And he ended up seeing a miniature of the Demeter that was used for that film. And, at that point decided that he wanted to start writing a story that was an alien-inspired movie about the people on the Demeter. Cool idea. Basically, after that, the film ended up in development hell for over 2 decades. At one point, David Slade, who did Hard Candy, 30 Days of Night, Black Mirror, Bandersnatch, was attached to direct, At another point, Neil Marshall, who directed The Descent, was attached to direct. Neither of those obviously happened. At other points, the stars of the movie were supposed to be Sir Ben Kingsley and Jude Law. Didn't happen. At another point, Matt's favorite actor, Viggo Mortenstein, was supposed to be in this movie. Never
happened. Weird way to say his name.
He always says that, Viggo Mortenstein. He never says Viggo Mortens. And then finally, back in October of 2019, Amblin Pictures, of course owned by Steven Spielberg, acquired the rights to this movie. And Andre Overdahl was announced to direct the film. The main cast members were confirmed in 2021. Principal photography began on June 30th, 2021. It was filmed in Berlin, filmed in Malta, and also filmed in the fortress city of Medina. So a lot of the stuff filmed on location in Europe, which I feel like lends very well to the, the ancient, or not the ancient, but like the older, period setting of this movie. Say what you will about it. It looks very pretty, shot very well, good sets, looks cool, looks very cool.
Story, yeah.
All the boat sets of the Demeter, practical sets that were built. Mm-hmm. Probably the water and the ocean. It was not on the ocean. It's probably all CGI and green screens beyond that. But the boat itself was an actual set. So,
could you imagine if they just sent out actors to go sail in a big boat like that? They're like, like Tropic Thunder.
Oh my god,
so dope! Like, I mean, they never ever do anything
just
like
die.
that.
They would all die because it would probably cost the same amount as to use guy. But then you have to film it, and you have to be like, well, these actors, they may die.
They may
right,
die.
and that's a
but then you don't have to pay them. But you do have to pay them.
Pay someone.
There's a trust.
You'd probably have to pay their family.
Yeah, so, you're paying someone.
Unless they sign their life away because they're fucking demons.
No, that's not going to be the case. All right, spoilers. Let's go.
Well, we're into spoilers now, so we can talk about spoilers. We've been in spoilers. I thought probably one of the coolest parts about this movie, again being a Dracula nerd like I am, was the ending. That the fact that you actually see Dracula get off the ship and see him kind of in disguise as this aristocrat in a bar, complete with his bougie cane.
Which is the same cane from Storm of the Century.
It's pretty much
very similar, very similar. So in the book, Count Dracula has the ability to not only turn into bats and to fog, he also turns into...
Oh, he turns into fog.
A wolf.
I didn't know that he could turn into...
Which is why there was a wolf on the cane. A lot of people out there had the interpretation that was a tease for some sort of Wolfman or Wolfman follow up.
Wait.
Now I didn't read it that way personally, but I thought that was the coolest part. One of the coolest parts of the whole movie. Personally,
back up. So Dracula can have wings, fly,
correct,
turn into dust,
correct,
and turn into a bat,
correct,
and turn into a wolf,
correct. Now, if you
so
remember,
are all wolfmen vampires?
Do you remember the BBC adaptation of Dracula that we watched on Netflix? That was like a modern interpretation. The people that did the Sherlock Holmes with Benedict Cumberbatch, they did Dracula. We watched that a few years back.
Yes,
that was very good.
Yes, I did.
Dracula turned into a wolf in that as well.
Okay.
And it's an underutilized portion of Dracula's story that he can also turn into a wolf.
So werewolves are vampires? Or all vampires are werewolves, but not all werewolves are vampires?
He turns into a large wolf.
Is this an SAT question?
No, it's not an SAT question. It can be if you want to petition for that.
Not wrong though. It's kind of a no. No, but yeah, they do that. Another what was it? That's a great way to do it. The vampires turning into
werewolves.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, but then in What We Do in the Shadows, they go against the werewolves. So they're going against their own?
No, because they're not. What We Do in the Shadows vampires don't turn into wolves.
Oh, so
in the classic story of Dracula, Dracula can turn into a bat
or
a wolf, and also into just fog.
So
I think the fog is the best part.
Yeah.
You just envelop
that. Okay, so that was also in there yesterday when we saw this movie as well, because
the fog was great.
The entire ship was enveloped in
that was
fog.
one of the best scenes.
That was very cool. Awesome. Oh yeah, when the two guys were up in the crow's nest trying to shoot Dracula, and everyone else was like down, and just everyone just getting picked off.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Remind me of the Mummy.
Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah.
Great. Love it.
I mean,
love it. What was I going to say? I completely lost my train of thought. I also thought it was very cool that they did the scenes where the people that had been bitten just burst into flames.
Yeah.
Those were sick.
Those were the immolation scenes were unbelievable.
Yeah.
Those were really, really cool.
They were good.
Yeah. I mean, guys, help me out here. What else? What else do you want to talk about?
Okay, so I have a couple questions after watching this.
Okay.
So the girl, the whole thing with the girl. So she...
Which I thought for sure there were going to be two other girls at one point. I thought it was going to be the brides of Dracula. I thought they were all
that's okay. That was one of my thoughts.
She wasn't. No.
She wasn't. But then she was like, I've been bitten a bunch of times. And she's still alive. And then she was fine with the whole thing with her makes zero sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was buried alive and she had already been bitten. So was she?
She's his feasting ground. She's his fucking tomato that he just goes to every night and feeds on her. That's why
all of those coffins on board have dirt in them, because his victims he stores in the dirt and they essentially rot. He sucks the life out of them.
They don't ever die. He just owns. And he
goes in one crate at a time.
Yeah, that's why when he was giving her the transfusions, he was pumping all that bad blood out of her.
Okay.
That's the only reason that she survived. And when he stopped giving her transfusions, that's why at the end she was like, "I'm not going to make it."
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just going to sail off into the sunset and light myself on fire.
No sense to me.
That scene was fucking fantastic.
It was awesome. It was really good. Yeah.
So that's what you didn't understand. You didn't understand.
I didn't understand it. That was my biggest question. So the crew seemed like really small to me. I don't know why. I mean,
there were at least 10 guys on that crew, I would say.
10 if you count the cook. Yep.
But I mean,
and the captain and the dog.
I feel like you'd have
and it's maybe like 6.
And then how long was their journey? Was it like
8?
A month?
So it did say at the beginning of the movie when it flashed back when the show was crashed, it was 4 weeks earlier. So it was about a month.
So it was about a month. Okay.
I did read something on IMDb that actual trek from Transylvania to London would have taken probably like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, because I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's a massive, inland, right? Like some Transylvania.
Well, you would have to go through like the Dead Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, like into the Strait of Gibraltar, and then into the English Channel, and then into London. So it would have been like a huge, it would have been a big deal. Yeah. Also, at what point do you abandon your bonus and say, I'd like to live maybe, and maybe we should just port somewhere else and say, fuck these people and get off.
At that point, don't you even think you have a chance? I would even, in the back of my mind, be like, we're dying. We're never getting off this boat, because you're never getting off that boat.
So
even if you port the boat, fucking motherfucking Draculas,
he can fly
and eat you
Yeah.
Like a fucking worm.
Oh, if they ported it, wouldn't matter. I mean, wherever they
it doesn't
ported
matter. It's just gonna. They did the right thing. He was steering the ship out into the middle of nowhere to try and destroy it. I feel like that was the plan.
Yeah,
right.
It was.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was very heroic, courageous.
Yeah. Captain goes down with the ship.
Just like they didn't want
just
Dracula
like in Titanic.
They didn't want Dracula to get on land.
Right.
But he still did.
Well, he still did. And that's a whole different story.
Dressed like fucking Mr. Hyde or fucking Dr. Jekyll.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dr. Pepper.
I wonder if they're the same guy. Dude, same guy.
I mean, there's a possibility that when aristocratic Dracula was sitting in that bar room with Mr. Clements, that was his name, by the way, the doctor, that Dr. Jekyll and Jack the Ripper could have both existed in that same version of London at that same time. That's a lot of monstrous people in London.
And what if it was all just him? He's like a shapeshifter.
Right? Could have been.
Or a fucking...
I'd like to think that it's more than just Dracula. That'd be weird if it was just Dracula. It'd be boring.
Dude, he looked like a monster.
It was awesome. I mean,
it was great.
Like, how does nobody notice that?
So like when I said I didn't...
Did he only... Well, also, this is the thing, too. Like, did he only look like that to Dr. Clements because Dr. Clements already knew what he looked like? Did he actually look almost like a Bela Lugosi type? I wouldn't have been surprised at that point when he turned around if he was in like human form. He was like a recognizable actor, like looking handsome, but he didn't. I actually kind of liked that they didn't do that.
That motherfucker walked up to me anywhere. I'd be like, who the fuck is this weirdo? Get the fuck away from me. So he has to look somewhat human beyond that because he's still a fucking scary dude.
Yeah.
I wouldn't fuck with that guy. I'd be like, get away.
Of course not. Of course not.
But it was, that part was very, I'm glad they added that in at the end.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't even there to begin with.
Andrea. Dracula Dead and Loving It or Last Voyage of the Demeter?
It's not even close. Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula or Last Voyage of the Demeter? The one with Gary Oldman and Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder.
That one's kind of cheesy as fuck, but I'd have to watch that one again. I've only seen that movie like once or twice.
It's a good movie. It's very good.
I haven't seen it recently, so I can't give an opinion on that.
Okay, fair enough. Kat, Andrew, any further thoughts on the Last Voyage of the Demeter before we sign off this evening?
No favorite vampires question?
Favorite
real
vampires?
quick. Your two favorite actors to play vampire or a version of vampire, or I mean Dracula, or just Dracula or some sort of vampire lead character in a movie. There's a lot.
In a movie.
It doesn't have to be a movie. It can be a show too. It can be a cartoon.
So just any actor playing any vampire doesn't have to be
pretty much top two.
Danny Houston in 30 Days a Night.
I was going to say that.
Great.
One of the best.
Fantastic. And whoever played fucking
yeah, in this movie?
No, the guy who played the main vampire in Salem's Lot, Toby Hooper's Salem's Lot.
Oh, that one was good. That one was creepy. Very similar design.
Yep, for sure.
Does I don't know if this counts. So the guy from Storm of the Century, that was not a vampire.
Oh,
Linoge.
Laneige.
I mean, he had the
he was borderline vampire.
Demon.
He could have been
demon.
You know why? So Linoge is an anagram for Legion.
Right.
So he's a demon, which actually technically Dracula is a demon.
Yeah. He's a blood sucking.
Yeah, I mean, I guarantee you. I don't know. I would be interested to hear if Stephen King had ever been asked about whether Linoge was a vampire, or if he was Dracula or a vampire, or if he was some sort of demon. I bet you Stephen King would say he was a demon of some sort.
He was like Satan.
Satan,
he was more Satan,
the devil. Which in a lot of cultures,
he was
a lot of cultures, Dracula is Satan.
Yeah, which
you
makes sense.
You should tweet him.
I'm sure he'll respond if I tweet it.
Dracula or
no, ask him that question.
Maybe I will.
That'd be interesting. Oh my gosh, if he answers back, that'd be wild.
I mean, I kind of make my life if I get to interact with Stephen King, but that's a different story for a different podcast, I would say. What about you? So, yeah, did you already say yours too?
Yeah, my final thought was...
You stole one of mine already.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yep.
But also, Liam Neeson's number 2 in Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Oh, yeah, good call. Yeah, Liam Neeson.
That's one of the best. Him and the Renfield in that, he's the best Renfield.
Yeah.
Renfield.
Wait, you didn't see Renfield?
No. I'm aware.
No, Renfield is a character in every Dracula story, though.
Oh, okay.
And the Renfield in Dracula Dead and Loving It, one of the best. And then I think my number 1 would be Willem Dafoe as Max Fried playing Count Orlok.
Max Schreck.
Max Fried. Shadow of the
Vampire, yeah.
That's probably
also
Willem Dafoe is fantastic in that.
I cannot wait to see Robert Eggers' remake of Nosferatu. It's going to be coming out soon, which also is going to be starring Willem Dafoe.
Well, yeah, because he looks like him. He's the scariest.
He's not. It's I think it's Bill Skarsgård who played Pennywise in the It movies. Which
why isn't Willem Dafoe Dracula?
He's going to be playing somebody else. I'm not sure.
That's so weird.
And Kat, you would ask. So you would ask last night about the differences between Nosferatu and Dracula.
Because I was like, wait a minute. So, yes, what my biggest question is, what's the difference between Nosferatu and Dracula besides, I guess, different languages?
So, from what I read, and I was misinformed last night, Nosferatu is a German adaptation of the novel Dracula, where in German, Nosferatu is the term for Dracula.
Okay.
So it's basically
it's just a different.
It's the German adaptation of Dracula, but obviously they did a very different interpretation of Dracula, as opposed to the universal Bela Lugosi version. So I think it's way creepier, way scarier, way more awesome.
So what came first, Dracula or
Dracula?
Dracula came first.
Absolutely, yeah. Because Nosferatu was based on Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Okay.
It was just a German interpretation of Dracula.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Good. Thank you for answering that.
Happy I could clarify. Guys,
good stuff.
Anything further? Okay, I think that's what I have as well. So why don't we
put a bow on this biatch?
Yeah, sounds about good. Why don't we do that? Well, guys, it's been another episode of America's Hometown Horror. Thanks so much for tuning in. Happy to talk about another 2023 horror movie with you guys. And we'll have Matt back next week. But next week, we will be without Andrew, who will be on a vacation of his own.
Vacation.
And he will report back on that vacation when he comes back the following week. But if you like this show and you're happy with what you hear and you want to keep listening, just, hey, listen to wherever you're listening right now. But you can also find us if you're switching podcast platforms on Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spreaker,
Stitcher,
wherever else you may get your podcasts. And I will say from the bottom of my heart, if you do enjoy our show and you like what we do, you think we're funny, you think we're entertaining, you think we suck, go on to whatever platform you listen to us on, give us a review, preferably 5 stars. That helps the podcast grow, helps us get out to more people, and we would really appreciate it if you did that, if you do enjoy the show. But anyway, my name is Mike. I've been your host. I've been joined by my OG co-hosts tonight, Kat and Andrew. Lady, gentlemen, say goodbye to your listeners.
Good evening.
Laters.
Hey, peace out and good evening.
Adios, muchachos.
I want to suck your blood. Hey everyone, it's Mike from America's Hometown Horror, and I want to say thanks again for listening to another episode of our show. If you're interested in more local Plymouth podcasts, I'd highly recommend you check out the shows from our friends over on the Inebriart Podcast Network. In addition to America's Hometown Horror, you can find shows from Inebriart, the Old Colony Cast, Bar Talk, Theme Park Legends, and Retro Redoctopus, so head on over and give them a listen.